A California sheriff says he believes his department thwarted a third assassination attempt against former President Donald Trump. On Saturday, deputies arrested a man with guns in his car's trunk while at a checkpoint going into a Trump rally near Coachella, California. This is video from yesterday's rally, which went on as normal. Riverside County Sheriff says the man, identified as Vem Miller of Las Vegas, appears to be a member of Sovereign Citizen, a far-right fringe anti-government group. Miller was cited on weapons charges and released.
What is up, guys? Tyson Dela Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. You wouldn't believe this. You wouldn't believe it. On Saturday, when Donald Trump hosted his rally, huge rally at Coachella, there was another attempt on Donald Trump's life. Shout out to everybody watching. Drop your comments down below. Smash the like button. And let's get into this headline. We got to get into this headline. Now, Riverside County Sheriff deputies probably prevented third attempt on Donald Trump's life. A man was arrested outside of the campaign rally for former President Donald Trump in Southern California. Multiple guns were illegally in his possession, according to the authorities. Arrests took place at the checkpoint at the intersection of Avenue 52 and Celebration Drive in Coachella at 4:59 p.m. The rally was scheduled for 5 o'clock. Donald Trump was set to speak at 5. He didn't end up speaking until 5:30. The driver was in a black SUV, later identified as a 49-year-old male named Vem Miller out of Vegas. Yikes, too close to home here. I'm out in Vegas, so that is too close to home. Was found illegal possession of a shotgun, loaded handgun, and high-capacity magazine. Miller was taken into custody and booked John J. Benoit Detention Center on suspicion of possession of loaded firearm and possession of a high-capacity magazine. Get this. This is the kicker, though. Here's the kicker. According to Riverside County Inmate Information System, Miller was released from the detention center Sunday on $5,000 of bail. Deputies become suspicious of Miller due to the interior of the vehicle being in disarray and having fake license plate consistent of a group claiming to be sovereign citizens. If you guys aren't familiar with what sovereign citizens are, it's individuals who kind of disconnect from the government service or their or straw man name. I think I got that right. But disconnect, where they don't necessarily pay taxes or are registered anywhere. So it was surprising to hear that this individual was a registered Republican. Now, as I was going to report on this yesterday, but I didn't have enough information to feel confident that the sources were 100. And I don't want to give you guys not 100 information. So this gentleman right here, Vem Miller is his name, partner and co-founder of the American Happens Network. Now, this gentleman has been pictured everywhere. He has been pictured with Vivek, Donald Trump, or not Donald Trump, excuse me, Vivek, O'Keefe. And this guy has his own podcast on Rumble. And it is crazy to me. Here he is right here. It's just, it was nuts to me to hear this. Let's jump into this video of this gentleman here.
So one thing I don't get is that everything at this convention, at the Republican National Convention, is cashless. This whole place is cashless. So I don't know. See, that's the Republican National Convention behind me. Wonderful people, wonderful time.
Being a sovereign citizen, obviously they don't generally. Some of the folks that I know, they still have debit cards, but I don't know if this gentleman has a debit card or not. But the main thing that I wanted to get into in this video is the reports or the press conference from the Riverside sheriff who arrested this individual. So let's jump into that video right now.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for coming here today. I am Chad Bianco. I'm the sheriff of Riverside County, and we are obviously here to talk about an incident that occurred yesterday at the rally that former President Trump had in Coachella. There has been a lot of media stir beginning last night with social media and further on today about the arrest, and so I am here to give you as much information as I can. I will answer all of the questions that you have. Keep in mind that the information that I'm going to give you may not be all of the information that I have, but because of what we're doing and because of the investigation that will obviously continue concerning this, there are some things that I cannot give you or that I will not give you, but I will do everything I can to answer your questions. So to begin with, yesterday afternoon, before former President Trump arrived to the rally, we made contact with an individual on the inner perimeter of our operation at the rally. As you can imagine, this was a very large event. In regard to previous attempts on the former president's life, this was not something that we were taking lightly. We had a very detailed plan in place on how we were going to keep not only the former president safe, but all of the participants or the attendees of the rally safe. So in general terms, I will tell you that we had a larger outside perimeter and then an inside perimeter that was completely controlled by us, by Riverside County Sheriff's deputies, and both of them served different purposes. We did not keep residents from their homes. We did not keep people that were traveling through the area from going through if they had a legitimate reason to go through. So the outside perimeter was basically to allow people in that we thought belonged there. The inside perimeter was to make sure and to make sure people were proceeding in the right direction. The way it worked yesterday is only people that were allowed inside the perimeter, the outside perimeter, in a vehicle was if you lived there or if you had documentation that said you were going to this rally in the form of an email with VIP credentials or press credentials. Those vehicles were allowed in. There were no other vehicles allowed. So that outside perimeter are I will give you his name. The name that we have, and I'm going to put an asterisk by it as I explain this later, but we have his name as Vem, V-E-M, Miller, M-I-L.
So apparently this individual had a lot of different identification cards. He had several different passports, and the registration on the vehicle, the vehicle was not registered. The sheriff is going to get into that here in a minute. Spoiler alert. Sorry.
L-L-E-R, and his birth date is 10/26 of 1974. And the reason why I gave it to you like that is I will explain later. He approached the outside perimeter, gave all indications that he belonged there, that he was that he was a participant that was allowed to get into VIP and to and a press corps, and so he was allowed through that outer perimeter. As he got to the inside perimeter, where deputies were conducting obviously a more thorough evaluation of the vehicles that were coming in, there were many irregularities that popped up. The deputy noticed that the interior of the vehicle was in quite disarray. The vehicle had an obviously fake license plate, and that prompted further investigation from our deputy into why the person was there and what he was doing. During that investigation, the deputy eventually found multiple passports with multiple names, multiple driver's license with different names. The vehicle was unregistered, and the license plate was what we in law enforcement would recognize as one that is homemade and indicative of a group of individuals that claim to be sovereign citizens and assuming the deputy assumes that he was part of that identifying group. So during the investigation, obviously those identification documents were found, in addition to a loaded handgun and a shotgun. Obviously, this was before the former president arrived. The person was taken into custody. He was eventually booked into jail on those charges, and eventually he was released. He will have to further his court case in the future. Right now, we are actively engaged in working with Secret Service and the FBI to ensure that this person is followed up on and all of the information that they can gather. I can tell you that from my perspective, from a state law enforcement agency's perspective, the firearms charges is what we arrested him for and booked him on. Anything further will come from the federal government, and quite frankly, I don't know if we will be a part of that. We will certainly be a part of that investigation and cooperating with them, but those charges, if any, will come from them. They will not come from us. With that being said, is there any questions? Yes, sir.
Sheriff, we talked to Mr. Miller this afternoon, and he said the accusations or the belief that he planned to assassinate President Trump were, quote, complete bullshit. He said that he had a special access pass that was issued to him by a Republican group in Clark County, Nevada, and that when he rolled up to the checkpoint, he told the deputies that, in his words, as a courtesy, that he had firearms in the trunk of his car. Do you have a comment on what he said?
I will not comment on what he said, or specifics that we learned or gained from our contact with him. Quite frankly, I'm not really concerned with the statement that he gave the media after he was released from custody. I can tell, well, because it's irrelevant to me. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, there were a minimum of 25,000 people that entered past those deputies into that location that had legitimate identification and weren't carrying guns.
Boom, right there. Super suspicious. The main reason why I didn't the main reason why I didn't report on this yesterday was because I was unclear about the information. And, you know, this individual presumably is going to these he went to the Republican National Convention. You know, he's taking photos with Vivek and RFK and O'Keefe and all these people. So, and it just wasn't adding up. But the deputy or the sheriff here states, and this is important. He says there were, 20,000 people or 50,000 vehicles that drove through to go to this Coachella rally, and none of them had weapons. What was he doing?
So I will just go from there. Yes, ma'am.
Sir, you've been quoted as saying you probably stopped another assassination attempt in the press enterprise, and then obviously you just gave us all of that information. I'm just curious how, what about what happened led you to that conclusion and that statement, given what you just explained about what you saw in the car and everything?
Yeah, so basically, I honestly, I will be honest with you, I don't remember saying that, but it certainly would be something I did say, because it's something that in the last 12 hours we've talked about extensively of what happened. Thank God, and by an act of really what we did in the week leading up to keeping that place secure, I certainly wouldn't want to be saying after the fact that I wish we would have done something to prevent that shooting. And there is absolutely no way that any of us are going to truly know what was in his head. I can tell you that none of the other probably 50,000 people that showed up yesterday for that event brought multiple passports with different names and guns. And if there is any further statement about whether or not he belonged there, the statement of him saying that he was given credentials to be there by someone else, that's not up to me to decide. I mean, we didn't arrest him for going inside the facility. We arrested him for having illegal guns in his car. What his frame of mind was, all we can do is speculate, unless we truly just want to believe anything that he tells us.
I guess it's just, given everything that's happened leading up to in this presidential campaign so far, it's just quite a dramatic statement to make, given what we've seen so far. I mean,
A dramatic statement for me to make?
well, just, yes, I mean, I guess, but there wasn't any, I mean.
So this is what I'm glad of. This is what I am very glad of. I know that the presence that we had at the rally with deputies, with snipers, with counter snipers, and Secret Service snipers and counter snipers, I am glad that we're not talking about this after we shot him. We get to talk about it before, and no matter what, it's all going to be speculation about what his intentions were getting there. What we do know is he showed up with multiple passports with different names, an unregistered vehicle with fake license plate, and loaded firearms. If you're asking me right now, I probably did have deputies that prevented the third assassination attempt. If we are that politically lost, that we have lost sight of common sense and reality and reason, that we can't say that, holy crap, what did he show up with all of that stuff for and loaded guns, and I'm going to be accused of being dramatic? We have a serious, serious problem in this country, because this is common sense and reason. I saw some of you there yesterday. You didn't have guns and fake IDs. I don't know how else to explain it.
Sheriff, you were talking about the two perimeters and how, the one checkpoint and the inner one. I'm just curious, did he have the proper credentials to get past those? Did that check out? It was just what was in the car that was the red flag, but the credentials perhaps checked out with the deputies to get that access.
So if you went there, the credentials are come out at the very last minute, and they are very, very vague. So there's actually 3 different points of contact and entry. We had an outer perimeter, an inner perimeter, and then you still have to go through Secret Service metal detectors and final big screening to actually get inside the facility. And that is where they would verify whether those were real. And to be honest with you, that thing that you have on your phone, it's all whether or not they have you on a list. It's not just showing up with a piece of paper and saying, I'm in. It's whether or not you really did apply through that website to get in. Secret Service does an extremely good job of trying to pre-vet people that are trying to get those tickets to get inside the.
And I'm sure this is probably part of the investigation. Did he say why he had all these passports to the deputies, what all this was?
No. And then one thing about I will confirm, just because it was said of what him saying that someone else gave him a pass. Well, you don't get to give away passes to go to a rally of a former president or even the vice president going to her rallies. We don't get to share those things. I can't share it with my spouse, let alone with friends. So all of those things are red flags for us going in. None of those things made sense. So it wasn't that we could verify individual documents that we had, because there really isn't those things. And that would have been done at the final checkpoint going through that is completely run by Secret Service.
Sheriff, can you confirm that this suspect here, I know you all are currently investigating him, looking into his past, is a member of the Republican Party and previously ran for state assembly in Nevada? Second part of the question, have you heard from the Trump campaign, Secret Service, in response to the actions that your deputies took?
I'll take the last one first. It was we certainly are still in contact with Secret Service and the FBI, because this is obviously something that occurred that we'll be continuing to go till we get to the bottom of it, until there's a resolution to the entire thing. The second thing and the second and third thing, I knew this was going to happen. I couldn't care less what political party he belongs to. I honestly, I think that's the stupidest thing in the world, that we have to label something and we're labeling this as politics. He was a lunatic. He was, and from my perspective in law enforcement, it's that group, if in fact it turns out that he is part of the sovereign citizens group, they are certainly considered a far-right group. I wouldn't, in my own personal belief, I wouldn't say it's a militant group. It's just a group that doesn't believe in government and government control. They don't believe that the government and laws apply to them. So I think it's fringe one way or the other. I couldn't care less. It's people trying to do harm, and thank God we prevented it.
Can I ask one other just clarifying question?
Yes.
Was every single car that was entering the space, and I apologize if I wasn't there, so I wasn't sure about the setup, but was every single car checked? This was the only car that drew attention yesterday. Is that accurate?
Well, I'm sure there were multiple cars that drew attention, but and every single vehicle that made it into the actual event, every single vehicle was checked. He did not make it into the event. He made it to our interior perimeter that was maybe 100, 200 yards away from the actual interior perimeter. So he didn't get to the point where Secret Service would find him. We identified him, detained him, and eventually arrested him before he got to the actual event entrance.
And that was about 100 to 200 yards before the entrance.
Please don't quote me on that, but yes. I mean, I think it's roughly, as I'm trying to imagine the entrance and where he was, I think it's about a quarter of a mile, 250 yards, maybe. I'm not 100% sure.
President Trump mentioned you and your family there during the rally. How close were you sitting to him, and who other, you don't have to name them by name, but did you have other family members with you?
I did have my family members there, and we were lucky enough and gracious enough to have VIP seating, so we were relatively close.
About how far were you?
The relevancy of that question is nothing like how close were you? How close were your tickets to Donald Trump? How close? Did you have family there? I'm sure the gentleman had family there. He's probably worked an 18-hour day. I'm sure he had his family there. The relevancy of that question is kind of so small and compared to the actual situation that went on here.
How far away was I from him? 40 yards.
Thinking back to what might have happened, do you feel concerned for your safety or your family's safety now?
I will tell you, as the sheriff of Riverside County, and knowing what we know going into this event, that there had been 2 attempts on our former president's life, and the amount of people that were going to be coming to this in such a short notice, what my team was able to do and what we did for the goers to this event, for the attendees, I was completely confident that there was absolutely nothing going to happen inside that facility, and I am inside that venue, and I am extremely proud of what the deputies did and the buy-in, the personal buy-in that they took upon themselves to ensure the safety of our former president and the attendees of that rally. I was not concerned for myself at any point.
Even after the fact, knowing that this guy was there?
It was our intent to make sure that there was an outside perimeter and an inside perimeter, that no one that did not belong there, that intended to do him harm or anyone else harm, would be allowed inside that event. And we did exactly what we had hoped for. And in hindsight, looking back, the planning that my team did and the actions of my deputies into this is exactly what we had hoped for. And we know that we prevented something bad from happening, and it's irrelevant what that bad was going to be.
Kudos.
Were there any adjustments to security after the discovery was made, especially with so many people leaving this large-scale event and the traffic backups and everything? Did you guys readjust what you were doing in terms of security?
No, I will tell you that when I was told that we had made an arrest and the brief particulars of what the arrest was what it involved, I really, my first thought was, we did everything right. It worked. I was told where it was. I knew it was an outside perimeter, and I was not concerned at all. I was not concerned for anyone else's safety. I knew that the precautions that we put in, the measures that we put in, did exactly what they were supposed to do. The other part of your question, the aftermath, the people leaving, I cannot tell you. I've been told way too many times today and in the middle of the night that it didn't go very smoothly. There was a lot of people trying to leave at the same time, and logistically, it wasn't conducive to going smoothly. And as far as we know, there were no injuries, there were no incidents, there was no neighbors called to complain or anything like that. And as far as I know, everyone made it home safely. So two different questions there, or parts to it, but we did not do anything different. I will say, I take that back. We did. There were a lot of people that have complained or that have said or wondered why there are deputies in riot gear. We had deputies that were off-site that were ready for something, to respond to something should something happen, and they were never intended to come inside the facility unless that happened. Afterward, when everything was over and it was obvious there were problems with people leaving, with people trying to get over fences and those types of issues, we did bring those deputies in just as extra help in funneling people out. There was never any, the only odd part about that was they were prepared all day in their riot gear, if you want to call it that, and that's how they showed up. It was, I mean, we got them there as quick as they could. There was never any, we certainly didn't treat it like a riot situation. It wasn't. Everyone was very orderly in their efforts to leave, and we just ensured that no one got hurt or everyone stayed out of the street, stay on the sides, and everything was orderly. But other than that, everything was fine, and as we went throughout the day yesterday, we didn't change anything. There were 2 guns and multiple boxes of ammunition for both. There was a handgun and a shotgun, and he was cited for the gun. They were unregistered firearms, so he was cited for the unregistered loaded firearms in a vehicle, and he was those are state crimes, and he was released on those crimes. He was booked into jail and released with a promise to appear at a future date in court, and I'm sorry, I don't know what that date is. I'm sure on our Jim's information it will show when his next court date is.
You said you showed a fake press pass that you found to be fake right there. What affiliation did that press pass have, and how did you know it was fake? Semantically,
I can't comment on whether or not there is an actual physical fake pass. He claimed to be a journalist, and he claimed to have VIP status at the event that got him into the perimeter. And then when that investigation was continued by the deputy, that didn't necessarily materialize. So other than his words of saying he was a journalist and that he was there as a media, I can't tell you that that he gave us a document that said I'm the media, and we said that was fake.
Were you able to verify that Instagram account that I mentioned to you that's his?
As of yet, I have not. I know they're working on it, and someone may have tried to tell me, but I didn't bring my phone, and that's how they would have notified me. I know we're actively trying to track that down, as well as Secret Service and the FBI, but our investigation is relatively done. The continuation will be a cooperation between us, the Secret Service, and the FBI. More than likely, federal charges like that would be headed by the FBI. I can't say that for sure, but it's a combination of all three. And I will say the working relationship and the effort that we all, the federal agencies and the sheriff's office, put into this going in was seamless. The communication is great. I have no complaints, and it's certainly, by me telling you it's someone else's investigation, that's just the nature of a federal crime. If they are ever able to prove that it was assassination attempt, and I'm not saying they're going to be able to. But anything like that would be federal. The state crimes are the weapons charges that we arrested him for.
Somebody posted on social media that both you and he were apparently coincidentally at a premiere of a movie, Line in the Sand, some title like that. You don't know this guy, do you? You've never met him or anything.
No, I do not. I have absolutely no idea.
When you originally stated his name, you said it was Vanasco.
So the yes, and maybe I just didn't emphasize that enough at the end. So the name that he has given us is Vem Miller. That's what he was booked under. But he had multiple passports and IDs with different names.
And then also you stated at the event there was 25,000 people, and later you said 50,000. Do you have a better count of how many?
We don't have a total yet. There are two different numbers, though, because of the amount of people that were actually made it inside the venue. And then the way it works is once the former president takes the stage, nothing else moves. So if you weren't in by then, you did not get in. And we do know that there were plenty of pre-screenings that had happened at parking lots before, and we know that there were multiple thousands of people that did not get in based on timing. So we have an idea of how many people were inside and outside, and we don't have an exact number. But that's the reason why I would have said two different things.
You talked about this group,
Sovereign citizens. It's a I don't know any in a law enforcement world. That's what we call them. That's what they call themselves, sovereign citizens, and it's just a political belief, if you will, that that government rules and laws and everything else that goes along with it doesn't apply to them.
So this is an organized group, and this group, they have a lot of members here in Riverside County?
I won't say they have a lot. Law enforcement across the country, we train on how to deal with them just because of the verbiage that they use when they interact with us. They believe that they're not necessarily toward us violent or confrontational, but it's obvious they don't ever want to answer our questions. They don't believe they need driver's licenses. They don't believe, and this vehicle goes along with it. They don't register their vehicles. This was an unregistered car that we had to go through VIN number and manufacture process to verify that it was a legitimate car. It actually did belong to him. It's just, we know it was sold to him. It just was not ever registered.
Have they shown a propensity for violence?
Sometimes they do, but I can't say as an organization as a whole. But obviously, like a lot of different groups, bad apples give a group a bad name. And there certainly are people that are, but I'm not going to say that group as a whole is a violent group.
I do understand what you said earlier about you don't know what this was or what it might have been, but when you see a vehicle with 2 guns, boxes of ammunition, different license plates and passports, and somebody claims to be with this group that you've described as being right-wing, first thing that goes through your mind is what?
I need to thank that deputy for doing his job. That was the first thing that went through my mind. And it was like I probably said to somebody or around somebody that's been either printed or reprinted in social media that I truly do believe that we prevented another assassination attempt. And it was solely by our effort of keeping those type of people out.
It's also said that he had a high-capacity magazine that he used for the shotgun as a street sweeper or for the pistol.
It was for the handgun. The high-capacity magazine was for the handgun.
It's different names on the passports, and I think, did you also say driver's licenses?
Yes.
Were these like tiny variations of the name, or like, red and brown?
I won't get into specifics, but it was both of the question that you're asking.
Okay. Any details about another individual linked to a potential bomb threat at the event as well?
We know that there were, no, not linked to an individual or specifics that I can give you. We are aware of our dogs and federal dogs that hit on people or things that we ended up not letting in, but I don't have any specifics on anything like that. There was nothing that rose to this level. Anything else? Okay, thank you for coming.
Great press conference. Great press conference. Kudos to the Riverside County Sheriff and the deputies for stopping any potential negative activity that might have occurred at the Donald Trump rally in Coachella. Kudos to them. Kudos to them. And then this Chad Bianco mentioned, this individual had weapons in his vehicle. He had weapons in his vehicle and multiple passports. And he says, if we're that far removed on, what we see, obviously this person was potentially going, presumably, I have to say that for the YouTubes, presumably going to do some harm. I'm glad he didn't, because some people might have gotten hurt. Now we're going to jump into this sovereign. I just want to reference this really quick, because I was talking about he was mentioning sovereign citizenship. You guys can look it up, but the one main aspect of the sovereign citizen, or the sovereign citizen, is the straw man theory overlapping those redeeming movement. It eventually became a core concept of the sovereign citizen ideology, disconnecting from any government ties. Your all caps name, the all caps name is the name that you were given at birth, or that's on your birth certificate with your social security number. So it's disconnecting your all caps name and becoming a sovereign citizen, not connected to your quote unquote like personal ID or identification number, which is your social security number. Anyways, guys, this was a good press conference. I am glad, and we got to pray. We have to pray to make sure that nothing happens to Donald Trump and his team and his family. We got to pray. We got to pray to protect this man at all costs. That and everybody around him. Also, set your prayers out for those individuals that were affected at the hurricane. I'm going to continue to say that because, but I'm so glad that nothing happened in this scenario. Let me know what you guys think about this. This was an interesting turn of events. We know that this stuff is going to continue to happen. So we have to protect this man at all costs. Let me know what you guys think about this. Drop it down in the comments down below. Smash the like button. Greatly appreciated. Share, subscribe. And as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.